Hello everyone, and nice to see you this year. Happy New Year, first of all, and welcome back to our first Kedro Coffee Chat of the year. We are so excited to kick things off with all of you, and we hope you had a wonderful holiday season and we are ready for an exciting year for learning and collaboration. First of all, I want to remind you about the format of the coffee chats, just in case if you are here for the first time or you forgot something from the previous one. We have our wiki page describing like what is happening and what we are trying to do here. Our main goal is stay close to the community. So every other week, we try to do a live demo to showcase some useful features or something that we are working on currently. And then at the end, we also leave a time to speak to us and ask questions. For that, you just need to remember that there is no something as a silly question. So feel free to do that through the comments. We'll see all of them and try to answer. And keep in mind that we are doing the live demos for you, and sometimes things might not go wrong. Usually everything goes as expected. You can also see our upcoming topics and the previous talks. They're all available on YouTube, so feel free to see them after. And as usual, you can find us in our Slack, in our question channel, where we are happy to help you with the daily issues. So today we have Rashida, who is going to talk about the future of experiment tracking. I think she'll cover the way of how was it organized previously and what's our future plan for Kedro and why we do what we do. So that's a fantastic way to start the year. Grab your coffee or a favorite drink and let's get started. The floor is yours. Go on, Rashida.
Thank you so much, Elena, for the introduction. Happy New Year, everyone, and hope you had a great holiday. So, as Elena said, today I'm going to be talking to you about how to do experiment tracking with Kedro. I'm going to first be telling you about how you can do it using MLflow, and then later on, I'll be covering with you on how we can migrate from the native Kedro experiment tracking to Kedro MLflow. So, let's get started. So, we all know how amazing Kedro is at building robust data science pipeline, and it makes it so much easier for us to standardize and scale our workflows. But one of the other things that Kedro is really good at is integrating with some of the other tools in the MLOps industry. And one such tool is MLflow. So, what is MLflow? MLflow is a very popular open source platform that is managed by Databricks. It has many external contributors and thousands of users worldwide. You can see on their website. And they cover quite a few MLOps use cases, starting from experiment tracking to models, model registry, observability, and very recently, even GenAI. So a lot of times users ask us, what's the difference between Kedro and MLflow? Why should you use Kedro over MLflow or vice versa? And the truth is, uh, they both do have overlapping features, but the magic happens when you use them together. And that's where the Kedro MLflow plugin that I'm going to talk to you about comes in. Now, the Kedro MLflow plugin was developed by Yolan, who is a member of the Kedro TSC. And it's one of the most popular plugins on the Kedro ecosystem. It's very simple to set up and get it running. And once you have set it up, it automatically starts tracking your experiments as part of your pipeline runs. You can also log your parameters, data sets, models, and metrics. It also interacts with the MLflow UI. So you can start visualizing your experiments, start comparing your experiments side by side, and get better insights on what's working for you and what's not. So now let me move on to the demo and show you how to get it started. So I'm going to open my VS Code And you can see this is my Kedro project, and it's a very simple space flight project. I don't have any integration with Kedro MLflow at present. It's just spaceflight project, and what I'm going to do over here is simply going to do Kedro run, and it will run my pipeline. So you can see my pipeline just ran. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to pip install the Kedro MLflow plugin. And then I'm going to initialize it by typing this command, Kedro MLflow init. Now, when I do that, it tells me that in my conf folder local, an mlflow.yaml has been created. So let me open that quickly in my, so you can see over here, when I do that command, an mlflow yaml.file is created, which contains all the configuration settings to set up my mlflow. So let's say if you have an mlflow server running, you can point out to the mlflow server there. If you're doing collaborative experiment tracking and you require credentials to access this server, then you add to the credentials over there, and so on. For this demo, I'm going to be working only locally, running MLflow only locally. So I'm not gonna make any changes to this file. But you can see over here, I can also specify where my MLflow will be running. In our case, it'll be running on port 5000 locally. So now if I do a Kedro run again, you'll see some subtle changes in this run. So you'll see over here, now that I have Kedro MLflow initialized, it's telling me experiment with the name MLflow does not exist, and it creates a new experiment. Also, it has this folder. There's a new folder that has been created called ML runs, which wasn't there before. And when you click on the ML runs, you will see that the Kedro run that I done, it's all over here. It's being tracked now. And while the artifacts metrics are empty, you can see there are some models that are being tracked, and some tags and some metadata. So now it's very easy to I can see this run details on my MLflow UI by simply typing Kedro MLflow UI. And then I go on my, so in my MLflow UI, this is how it looks. You can see there are all my experiments over there, and the default experiment is always there. My project name is MLflow demo. So when I use Kedro MLflow, all my experiments for that it takes the same name. So under my MLflow demo, I have one run running. I just created this run a minute ago, and when I click on the run, it gives me all the information about the run, when it was created, who it was created by, the experiment ID, and you can also see all the parameters are being logged. Currently, there are no metrics associated because I'm not logging any metrics.
Rashida, sorry to jump in. Can you please a bit zoom in so it would be better to see? Because it's look a bit blurred when people watch it for YouTube.
Is it better now?
Yeah, it's better. Thank you. And for the Scott as well when you switch back. Thank you.
So yeah, I haven't set up any artifacts or anything yet, but this is how my first run looks. So I'm gonna go to the Kedro MLflow of docs and show you this table. This basically tells you what are the MLflow actions that you can do with the Kedro MLflow, what API you can use, and where you can do these. So the setup configuration and the logging parameters are done using the MLflow hooks, and they are part of the MLflow plugin. And when I do Kedro MLflow in it, this is already, the setup is already done, and you can see that my parameters are already being logged. If I want to log the artifacts, models, and metrics, then I have to explicitly define them in my catalog.yaml, which data sets I want to track as artifacts. If I have any models, then add the relevant data set name to it, and I track that. So let me show you now how I can do that. Let me go back to my VS Code. So let me also zoom in a bit. Okay. So now I'm gonna go to my catalog.yaml. Let me close this. Clear. And in my catalog, I'm gonna define some models metrics to track. So first, I have this regressor data set which returns which is basically an sklearn model. So I'm going to change the type of it to an MLflow model tracking data set. And give it a flavor of MLflow sklearn. There are a lot of other models also you can track, for instance, like Keras. And secondly, I have these metrics track. So the tracking.metrics dataset was an older way of experiment tracking using the native one. And if I want to track these on MLflow, I again I simply just need to change the type. So I'm gonna uncomment them and just change the type to Kedro MLflow metric dataset. And now I have 3 metrics data set that are being tracked. I don't need the file path. And finally, if there are any generic data sets you want to track, you can also do that by adding them, by wrapping them in the artifact data set, MLflow artifact data set. So the way you do it is you just change the type again and call it a Kedro ML artifact data set. And within that, you wrap the original dataset configurations. So if I do this, I can track these data sets. I'm just going to do it for a few more. And also this matplotlib dataset. So now I have updated my catalog.yaml file to track one model tracking dataset, a few metrics datasets, and a couple of artifact datasets. Let me do a Kedro run again. You can see in my ML runs, there's another run that is created. That's this one. And you can see there's data over here now. And when I do Kedro MLflow UI, I can go over here, go to MLflow demo, and you can see that my second run is created. And when I click on that, now besides the parameters, I can also see the metrics that I'm tracking. And I can click on model metrics, and there's a bar chart visualization that shows my metrics. I can also go to my artifacts, and you can see it's tracking my model, and it also is tracking other data sets. And for matplotlib data sets, it's also show it as an image. I can also register this model. And then it'll show up in my models. So I've showed you how easy it is to set up experiment tracking, start tracking logging your parameters, metrics, models, and data sets. Now I'm also going to show you how you can, if you have multiple runs, how you can also use the MLflow UI to compare them side by side. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create some additional runs. And to make sure they're different from each other, I'm just going to change some of my parameters here. I'm just gonna Mm, I'm gonna do another one. So now I've created quite a few runs, so we can look at the comparison feature. So I'm gonna type Kedro MLflow UI again. Mm-hmm. Oh, I have to go in the incognito mode. Sometimes this happens. And turn to light. And now when I go over here, you can see there are two more runs created. And I can click on these runs and click on the compare button and then add all the metrics that I have. And you can see that I have multiple visualizations that I can use to compare my metrics over all the experiments that I've done. And then it also shows me how metadata information about my experiments, how long it took to run each experiment. It tells me what parameters I've used. So if I've made any changes, I can see that. It tells me how my metrics differ for each run, and in my artifacts, it also shows me if it looks different, then how that is. So you can do with scatter plots. It's got block box plots, and yeah, a lot of nice visualizations for you to get more insights on your run. So yeah, this is what the Kedro MLflow demo is all about. You can do a lot of more advanced things with the Kedro MLflow. What I've showed you is simply just an introduction to the Kedro MLflow plugin, and we have a good number of documentation, so you can see the Kedro docs on how to set up Kedro MLflow. We also have the official documentation of Kedro MLflow that you can follow and learn more, and we also have our MLflow docs, the official MLflow docs. So you have a lot of documentation available. Like I said, very easy to set up, get going, and yeah, I also wanted to talk to you about Kedro's native experiment tracking, which we are going to deprecate in the future releases. So, Kedro's native experiment tracking is accessible via Kedro-Viz, and this is a very lightweight version of experiment tracking. So, it's more catered towards smaller teams. As your project goes more medium to complex, we always recommend you to switch to Kedro MLflow, and you can see from the UI, it's very similar to the Kedro MLflow UI that I showed you. You have your overview where you have your metrics, JSON, you have your plots, and you can also compare multiple runs. You have your parallel coordinates, something you saw in the MLflow UI as well. So it's we are not gonna, so in the next release we are not going to be deprecating this feature. It's still going to be there, but we're going to have a banner saying that it'll be deprecating in the future release, and the release after that, this feature will not be there. If you are using the Kedro native experiment tracking, it's very straightforward to move to Kedro MLflow. Uh, there are four data sets that we have been tracking in the Kedro experiment tracking. One is tracking.metrics data set, which if you use the MLflow metric data set, like I showed you in the demo, you should be good. And then for the other data sets, tracking JSON data sets, Plotly data sets, and Matplotlib, you'll have to convert them to MLflow artifact data sets and wrap the original data set configuration within it. Once you're able to make these changes to your catalog and do the setup, you should be able to do the same thing you were doing with the native experiment tracking with Kedro MLflow. So yeah, that's all I had to share today. I hope this session was valuable to you, and I hope that you can try out this Kedro ML4 plugin and let us know how it is. We can conclude the presentation and open up for questions.
Yeah, thank you, Rashida. Thank you very much for amazing presentation and for going deeply into what we're gonna develop further and how users should proceed with the experiment tracking. Now it's like the good time to ask your questions in the channel so we can cover them. So please feel free to doing that through YouTube, LinkedIn, whatever. And we also have another senior software engineer here with us, Ankita, who can help us to handle questions if in case we struggle. So it's good to have the additional force to handle them. And we're going to stay here for a while to wait until your questions. I can also remind you that we have a wiki page, which includes the announcements for all the coffee chats, the upcoming topics. If you want us to cover some specific topic, you can also reach out to us via Slack, and we can consider what's on your mind and maybe include it as the next coffee chat. Sorry, I just like switching banners. I cannot stop doing that. Well, if no one is asking, in the meanwhile, I can probably ask the general question to Rashid about the MLflow and the future vision. Like, what do you see the main benefit of migrating to MLflow from the native experiment tracking? I mean, what was the value proposition behind?
So one of the so like I said, Kedro-Viz experiment tracking was quite lightweight and it had low usage. And in the collaborative experiment tracking of Kedro-Viz could do certain things but couldn't do a lot more. MLflow, in comparison, especially with the collaborative aspect of it, was much more richer feature set. Plus, once you start doing experiment tracking in MLflow, like I said, it serves a lot of other MLOps use cases. It has experiments, it has models as well. So in terms of the rich feature set, with MLflow, you got that as compared to the Kedro experiment tracking. It was a bit limited in what it could do.
Yeah, thank you. That makes a lot of sense. And do you see any like additional features for the plugin? So are we gonna to like develop them or maintain the existing one? Do we already have something in mind? How do we want to extend it?
So again, depends on how many users are using Kedro MLflow and the requests that we get from users, because only with users we'll understand the pain points and make it better. So need more awareness around Kedro MLflow, learn more from the users and then build. But we definitely, now that we are getting rid of the Kedro experiment tracking, we definitely want to focus more efforts on getting our Kedro ML4 plugin even better, and see how what if there are any user feature requests, then focus on and get them prioritized.
Yeah, thank you for making it clear for us. And once again, thank you very much for the nice presentation. We see no questions are coming, meaning that everything is clear, or people are easily can find us in the question channel where we always quite responsive. Thank you everyone for joining. See you in 2 weeks, and yeah, have a good weekend, everyone. Thanks for joining. Bye-bye.
Bye.